New op pack in the air, this gas or what? He'll still be alive right now if you niggas ain't gas him up. Give my shorty stingers and guns, I tell him slap for none.
Hello there, welcome to the channel. Today we will be talking about Ymir Fritz, the original founding titan.
If I lose it all, slip and fall, will you laugh at me? If I lose it all, if I lose it all, slip and fall, I'll never look away.
Ymir was taken into former Eldia as a child slave. There she led a life of servitude and evidently understands what it's like to have your freedom taken away, so when she saw Biggs headed for slaughter, she felt the desire to act. She understood their position, so she freed them. As she couldn't free herself, King Fritz, upon finding out after the people snitched on her, would ironically tell Ymir that she is free. She was free from being an Eldian slave, but she was free to be game, hunted down to death for her crimes. That was the price of freedom in former tyrannical Eldia. That was the tragedy of Ymir. She was free to run into death, which she escaped. In her lifetime that was the freest she's been, but that was never really the case because the fear in itself is its own prison, but after she touched the source of all life, things changed. Zeke talks about how life goes on because it seeks to multiply endlessly by adapting to different environments and expanding. The goal of life is to multiply. Death runs counter to that goal, so you experience the emotion of fear to protect you from death scenarios. By that token, Zeke explains that Ymir created paths to run away from the painful experience of fear and to be free from the. She creates a body big, strong, undying, and she escapes to a timeless world after her physical death. That was Ymir's life, just slavery, ain't living in fear, no self-determination, no autonomy, no self-worth, no morality. Just entirely giving herself away for others, which Eldians mistook as her being kind. So the parallel of Frida telling Historia to be like her, shows how the Krista persona is one where she doesn't live for herself. She just gives herself away to others out of kindness that overtakes your own desires, effectively not letting you exercise your will but submitting to others' wills. Ymir was a slave in her mind, her physical circumstances didn't matter, she was a slave. Ymir remained a slave after transforming because she ended right back in Eldia, where the king decided to make use of her. He used her as an incubator for his children and sent her to fight his wars. She had no will of her own, and when someone came to assassinate him, she took the hit and died for him. She lacked the will to go on, so she died and went to paths. King Fritz was upset to see his prized slave go, so he fed her to his kids to keep the Titan powers flowing, so to keep expanding his empire. This is what Zeke talked about, how life seeks to multiply, it seeks numbers and territory. Eren put a stop to that. Exemplified by the interruption in Fritz's speech with his "it ends now." Ymir escaped to paths, that world away from fear and death, because she was still attached to the world she prematurely left behind. So she stayed in servitude of the Fritz line until Eren freed her. Zeke showed Eren Ymir's slave-like state. Eren, for his own goal, decides to free Ymir from her slavery. He makes her realize she's a human being with a will of her own, not responsible for others at her own expense. He appeals to her feelings of being an eternal slave, waiting for someone to free her. Because Eren here does hint that Ymir brought Eren to this place. Eren gives Ymir a choice she can find freedom in. How? Freedom like Zeke's definition in chapter 137. Zeke said freedom comes from having your possible final moments related to fighting for the struggle to live, and those final moments of fighting are what give you a feeling of freedom. The freedom is in the fight for it, coming near death. This is how Eren felt when he incurred the rumbling, and so Ymir went with Eren to feel that and chose to let the world burn. She lets the rumbling happen because of her frustration and her amorality. She gave Eren the green light to destroy everything. Ymir chose freedom, the survival of Eldians and Marlians, and after that to let go. How? Well, in chapter 139 Eren points out that though he understood Ymir's pain and her desire for freedom, he wasn't sure why Mikasa's decision, which we know was her decision to kill Eren, is what Ymir needed to be truly free. Eren kept moving forward until Mikasa would take that decision, so that the result of it brought about Ymir's release and the end of the Titan curse. And what we find out is that Ymir loved King Fritz. She ended up loving him because she no longer had an individual will of her own, so the king's will became her will, hence the Stockholm Syndrome. Mikasa understood that, and that is why she called Ymir's love for Fritz a nightmare. Mikasa, from that childhood incident, saw Eren as a beauty in their cruel world, which in her traumatic state, she couldn't see Eren's obviously monstrous actions as that, but rather as beautiful. After he saved her, wrapped his scarf and took her in, Mikasa was grateful but also grew emotionally attached to Eren to escape the PTSD and to cope with the sudden loss of family. She needed an anchor to keep going, a family to stay attached to, so she grew to develop strong affections for Eren and decided to always protect him and follow him wherever he went. Ymir, after being given the agency of free choice by Eren, was able to go peek in Eldians' heads. She was able to look into Mikasa's head and saw what she wanted, love. She saw Mikasa almost get sold into slavery, she saw her find a new family, she saw her bond with Eren. Finally, she saw Mikasa's love for Eren in chapter 138, which released her. Eren was a slave to his desire for freedom, he was out of control. What Mikasa did was free Eren of his agony of being a slave to freedom. Mikasa went above her love for Eren and killed him. This meant a lot to Ymir, who didn't have anyone to free her from her agony of loving the king. She witnessed what she considered true love, and after arming in chapter 137 showed her that life is beautiful, Mikasa showed her love and Eren freedom. Ymir felt that she gained peace from living vicariously through Eren's, Mikasa's and Armin's memories and each of their philosophies, which is why in this panel, her representation of her release from Fritz, hugging her children who she no longer sees as an extension of him. Her eyes are no longer hollow. She leaves the world behind with no more regrets. And that is the life and death of Ymir Fritz. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like these.